Evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. A CBC News analysis has found that auto thieves are targeting older vehicles in BC more so than in any other part of the country. Police and ICBC are warning drivers to take precautions, but as John Hernandez reports, experts say we could learn from other provinces on how to buck the trend.
It's kind of a sunken feeling that wasn't too pleasant.
Kevin McKenzie woke up on a Sunday morning to find his truck wasn't where he left it.
I knew first thing that it was obviously stolen. The big shock factor for me though was it was stolen with a steering wheel club on the steering wheel.
The 26-year-old owned a 2005 Ford F-350. It's one of the most commonly stolen vehicles in the province.
It's obviously not a nice feeling to know that something that you've worked hard for and you've managed to buy something like that and it's gone.
A CBC News analysis found that older vehicles are overrepresented when it comes to auto thefts. 7,500 vehicles were stolen in BC in 2020. Honda Civics were stolen the most, ahead of F-350s, Dodge Rams, and F-150s. The majority of stolen vehicles were made between 1997 and 2007. Data also suggests that vehicles in BC have a longer lifespan because of milder weather. That means there are many older vehicles still on the road that lack anti-theft devices like an immobilizer, which requires a chip key to start your car. They became mandatory in vehicles made after 2007.
We see auto theft happen for many different reasons. A common one is that a vehicle is stolen and then used to commit another criminal offense.
So how can BC prevent more older cars from being stolen? It's a problem other provinces have already solved.
There was a very significant auto theft problem occurring primarily in the city of Winnipeg.
More than 10 years ago, Manitoba Public Insurance made the devices mandatory for high-risk vehicles amid exceptionally high theft rates. It even paid for them to be installed.
It was highly successful. We saw immediately a 40% reduction in auto theft after 1 year. We do know that auto theft, if there's a will and financing, can be reduced significantly.
BC's Safety Ministry didn't respond to questions about whether a similar program could work here, but ICBC says drivers who do have immobilizers in their cars can qualify for savings. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
An arrest has been made and charges laid in a killing that shook a Vancouver community. A Kitsilano Park caretaker was mysteriously found dead in December. Joel Ballard joins us live now from Tatlow Park. Joel, what have we learned today?
Anita, as you said, I'm here at Tatlow Park here in Vancouver's Kitsilano neighborhood. It's a small, quiet, tree-shrouded community park. But it's also the site where 77-year-old Justice Daniel was found dead last December. Now, Daniel was the park's caretaker. He lived in the caretaker's residence here on site, and that's where Daniel's body was found. Today, the Vancouver Police Department announced that 51-year-old Brent Stephen White has been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder.
With this case, though, it's very good in that we can give a little bit of closure to the community, analyze some of their fears. I know that this case, for some people, shocked the community and caused significant anxiety.
Now, the information is slim. Of course, this case will be going before the courts, so there wasn't actually all that much the police could tell us. But what we have learned is that White and Daniel did know each other, they were acquaintances, and that White actually lives in the Kitsilano area. Earlier this month, police released this surveillance footage near the park. Police believe it shows White on the day of Daniel's death. He can be seen walking and raising his arms multiple times. But police say White does not have a criminal record.
Joel, you've been talking to people in the community today there. Are they feeling any closure with this?
Yeah, well, Anita, first, when this happened back in December, we spoke with residents, and of course, they were filled with shock that something like this could even happen in their community, but also that it would happen to their friend. And as you said, I had a chance to speak with some of the neighbors here today, and the biggest sense that I got from them was just how important this community felt Daniel was and how kind he was.
I guess it was a relief, and we're hoping it's the right person, because it's been scary when you're living on the street and something so horrible happens to your friend.
He would always be helping people. Like if he used to go to coffee on the corner there every day, and if anyone like came in with a pram with a baby, he'd be the first one up to help them.
It is tragic, but hopefully we'll get some justice for justice.
Yeah.
That's, I'm excited. I'm happy that hopefully we can get somebody convicted.
Now, police haven't told us when White will next appear before the courts, but we do know that he is still in custody. Anita?
Joel Ballard reporting live tonight from Tatlow Park in Kitsilano. Thank you. BC's police watchdog has released a report into a 2020 standoff in Prince George, finding an RCMP officer may have committed a criminal offense. Officers responded to an alarm at a sports store known to sell firearms and ammunition. A male suspect inside refused to surrender. After hours of negotiation, Everett Riley Patrick was arrested. Police say he went into medical distress while in custody and died. The IIO now says reasonable grounds exist that an officer may have committed a crime. Crown prosecutors will file charges if they believe a crime was committed. The BC government is one step closer in a move it says will do more to protect people who are buying homes. It's creating a homebuyer protection period.
A homebuyer protection period is about improving consumer protection and balancing the risk in the marketplace. We've introduced enabling legislation today because we know that the status quo is only working for people who profit from an overheated market.
The concern is that buyers are purchasing homes without making fully informed decisions. The cooling off period would allow buyers to ensure proper financing, obtain a home inspection, or pull out of the deal. Some critics have said this will do little for housing affordability, and that topic, along with the gas tax rebate, drew a heated debate in the BC legislature today.
So perhaps the Premier can answer this question. Why didn't he choose to give targeted, meaningful help to low and middle income families and those who simply cannot afford to keep managing the highest and most expensive gas taxes in North America?
There's a global crisis. Newsflash, BC Liberals, global crisis, and British Columbia's government's taking steps to protect people. We've been doing that for the past 5 years. It's a mystery to you how we're doing it, but it's working for people.
BC is reporting the largest increase in COVID hospitalizations in recent weeks. Over the weekend, positive patients in hospital jumped by 28, nearing 300 again. Patients in critical care are down by at least 2. 6 more British Columbians have died from the virus. And things were a little different at schools around the Lower Mainland today. That's because students, teachers, and school staff are no longer required to wear masks in indoor spaces. But Joel Ballard is reporting again for us tonight, and he's finding out just because they don't have to wear masks, it doesn't mean that all of them won't.
It was a quiet spring break at L.A. Matheson High School, but that changed today. Students once again filled these halls, like this grade 10 student. She already knows she wants to be an accountant after high school. What she isn't so confident about is the province's decision to lift mask mandates in schools.
I feel that it's a bit too early for that, honestly.
A few weeks ago, the province repealed most COVID-19 restrictions amid decreased transmissions, fewer hospitalizations, and high rates of vaccinations. Still, Sarao says it feels premature.
Many students will be coming back from travel, and since masks won't be on, the risk of getting COVID basically will be higher.
There may be some peace of mind, however, because despite provincial mask changes, Health Canada says anyone who travels outside of Canada, including over spring break, needs to wear a mask in public spaces for 14 days upon their return. But still, Sarao's concerns are shared by some staff members at school.
Why not keep the mask mandate, right? Why not keep that until, I don't know, whatever, April, May, even June for that matter, just so we can kind of ride this out like in the safest way possible.
And there's a fear that it could lead to tension between students who want to wear masks and those who choose not to.
Mostly people respect other people's decision about not wearing masks, but I feel as though if someone does not wear a mask, then other people are still cautious about going too near them.
She worries some students might be left feeling excluded. The province's top doctor urged respect.
Those who continue to want to wear masks and are comfortable doing that will be supported to do that, both staff and students.
It's top of mind for Ohana too, even though she says about 90% of students still had their masks on Monday.
We've seen it, like bullying and different weird things about wearing masks. Whatever your choice is at this point, I want it to be like it's welcome. You're allowed to do it.
Creating a positive environment, both for students who choose to wear their masks and those who don't. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Surrey.
Canada's first earthquake sensor has been installed at Horseshoe Bay. It's part of a national system designed to alert people when an earthquake happens. The first of hundreds of sensors have been installed along the BC coast, the most earthquake-prone area in the country. The network of sensors will be used to set off an alert system like an Amber Alert. Officials say when the big one hits, every second of warning counts.
With this system, we will take the guesswork out of the initial response, be able to prepare efficiently for what's coming our way. By giving this heads up, people will have a few extra moments to drop, cover, and hold on.
The warning system can also be used to trigger safety measures automatically. Construction workers can stop hazardous work, surgeries can be paused, or bridges and tunnels can be closed. The full system is expected to be online by 2024. Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff is off tonight, so we bring in Nick Czernkovich. Always happy to have you, Nick. And happy to see this gorgeous sunshine that we had this afternoon.
I know, yeah, it was nice to see it clear out. We had a little bit of morning showers, but other than that, we're sort of in the clear here. And temperatures coming up back around the seasonal mark. Now, last Friday I talked about this as well. The temperatures are going to remain more or less around seasonal, and they will, or just above. 11 degrees right now in Cole Harbour, 10 at Vancouver Airport. This is down about a degree from the daytime high, so pretty much right on seasonal. And you look at the big picture, and here's what's going on. We've got this high pressure in place, and that is why you've seen the sunshine through the later part of the day. It is also why we're going to see some fog developing tonight. Some moisture in the atmosphere. It's kind of trapped down in the low levels. High pressure in place. We'll see some morning fog. Then it clears out tomorrow. Into Wednesday, we get a little wave of showers, and then it clears out again with more high pressure moving in. And then Thursday, it clears out. Friday, we've got showers. So on and off for the next couple of days, which is really what we're looking at. More or less sunshine across the board at this point. Again, some fog patches developing through the overnight. That clears out before cloud cover starts to move in again for tomorrow evening as another system pushes through. But for now, here's a look at the next 24. We've got 8 degrees tomorrow morning, fog patches dissipating, 12 for tomorrow afternoon with a little bit of cloud cover, at least a mix of sun and cloud. And then that sort of on and off rain showers for the next couple of days. I'll tell you how the 5-day forecast pans out in just a bit.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Nick.
Sounds good.
A delegation of Indigenous leaders and residential school survivors from Canada is in Rome this week. Today, some of them finally getting to meet with Pope Francis in person and tell their stories. It's a significant moment in a lot of ways, but one that many view as another much-needed step in the long journey toward reconciliation. The CBC's Juanita Taylor reports from the Vatican.
A busy sidewalk in Rome became a healing path for 8 Métis delegates and the people they represent, arriving to face the institution that caused them so much pain. Inside, a historic meeting with the Pope. They told him their stories of trauma rooted in residential schools and formally asked him to apologize for the church's role. Afterward, this residential school survivor said she didn't have closure yet, but...
Today was the most wonderful day I ever had all my life. To meet the gentle, kindest person and I even got a hug.
The Métis delegates also asked Pope Francis for access to pertinent church records and to make sure their people are included in an existing financial settlement that hasn't been fully paid.
Reconciliation did not begin today with a meeting with Pope Francis, and it doesn't end here either.
While the Métis were meeting with the Pope, an Inuit delegation of 7 was on its way to the Vatican to make their own appeal for justice, along with their own call for an official apology to be made in Canada. They also asked the Pope to personally intervene in bringing alleged abusers to justice, in particular a former priest now in France.
It is such a heartbreaking reality that some people who should have been brought to justice decades ago have not seen justice.
For this delegate, telling the Pope to come to Canada to make his apology was the first step toward achieving justice.
And it seems like the burden, the heavy thing that I was carrying for a long time, it has lifted. It has lifted because it seems like I was carrying those people, that my friends, my relatives that have gone to school.
The third meeting is set to happen Thursday, when a delegation from the Assembly of First Nations has its private hour with the Pope. Then on Friday, a public finale to this remarkable week with the Pope, all the delegates, their family, friends, and support teams. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Rome.
And the Prime Minister will be in Williams Lake on Wednesday, 2 months after the discovery of 93 potential human graves. Chief Willie Sellers says they welcome Trudeau's visit and will showcase the Indigenous community as well as talk about the ongoing conversation into the potential discovery of those graves. We'll have full coverage on that visit on Wednesday. Stories about the residential schools can be unsettling. If you or anyone you know needs support, you can access emotional and crisis referral services by calling the 24-hour crisis line. The number is there on your screen. It's 1-866-925-4419. A shocking moment at the Oscars, a slap that continues to reverberate through Hollywood and around the world. Next. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. Many Indigenous men and boys wear their hair in braids. It's a long tradition, but not everyone understands it, which can lead to insults and teasing. That happened to a young boy in Alberta. Travis McEwen tells us how his mother and his school saw it as a chance to teach about Indigenous culture.
In the sea of grade 2 students sits Tiberius Saddleback. The curious 7-year-old catches up on some reading. But the Cree student hasn't always been comfortable in the class. A little over a month ago, he told his mother, Akasha Hartman, he was teased about his braids.
This year has come to us with kids saying that he shouldn't have his hair this long because it's for girls and all this kind of stuff. And it broke my heart because, well, he's my son and he shouldn't be embarrassed by his culture.
He told her he wanted to cut his hair.
How did you feel?
Bad.
How come?
I didn't like it.
Hoping to change his mind, Hartman told Saddleback's teacher about the issue, and she says the school took immediate action. That's where Sheila Potts comes in. Potts is an elder with the Montana First Nation and works for Wolf Creek Public Schools. She visited Saddleback's class to talk about why some of the men and boys of some Indigenous nations wear braids.
My teaching is because it's a family unity, right? And you're intertwining your family together. And that's what I told the grade 2s. I also told them that, you know, it's our ancestors did those, and they had long, beautiful, beautiful hair.
The school district employs 3 elders who also work here at Pinoak Elementary School. And for staff here, the experience highlights the importance of having elders in the school.
To me, it's about having First Nations students have a voice, take up space in the classroom, and be very proud of who they are and where they come from. And a lot of it has to do with education, and some of our younger children maybe have not seen or gone to school with a First Nation student. And so the idea of having long hair and a boy having a long braid is something very different to them. And so our job is to teach, and we're very thrilled to have the elders come in and provide those opportunities and work alongside us.
Hartman says her son's attitude towards his hair has changed since Potts talked to his class and is happy the school has the resources in place to address the situation.
He wears his braids with honor now, and he's never embarrassed of them. We always try and at least have one braid, even if it's a little bit hidden, but he always wants to have that one braid in his hair, no matter what.
As for Saddleback, he doesn't know how long he'll grow his hair, but he just feels comfortable with it now, with no plans to cut it. Travis McEwen, CBC News, Ponoka.
Well, it was a slap seen round the world. Will Smith going after comedian Chris Rock for joking about his wife. In this story, we'll show you the full moment, including strong language. As Paul Hunter reports, on a day when Smith should be celebrating his Best Actor win, he's actually the subject of an investigation by the Academy.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Few would deny that the joke itself was in poor taste. Chris Rock on stage at last night's Oscars mocking Jada Pinkett Smith, wife of actor Will Smith, for her recently shaved head, likening it to this scene from the film G.I. Jane with actress Demi Moore shaving her head for the military. Except Pinkett Smith suffers from alopecia, a disease causing hair loss. She's often spoken publicly of it.
Y'all know I've been struggling with alopecia and
I'm out here. Uh-oh.
After Rock's joke last night, Smith stood up.
Oh, wow.
To those who might have wondered, was it all just an act? Smith then made his anger clear.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
The assault stunned millions watching live. The fallout, deeply divided. The most beautiful thing I've ever seen, said actress Tiffany Haddish, underlining Will Smith stood up for his wife. But others eviscerated the actor. There is no excuse, wrote director Rob Reiner. Fellow director Judd Apatow called it pure, out-of-control rage and violence. Fellow comedians, including Montreal's Renzel Dashington, defended Rock's right to make jokes that test boundaries.
As a comedian, in order for you to be the best at what we do, you need to allow yourself the space to cross the line consistently.
In later accepting the Oscar for Best Actor, Smith last night made no apology to Chris Rock. Tonight he did. In a statement, Smith called his behavior unacceptable and inexcusable. I was wrong, he wrote. I am embarrassed. I am a work in progress. The Academy has meanwhile launched a formal review. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
And a final note on last night's ceremony, the movie Dune cleaned up in the technical awards, winning a total of 6 Oscars, and 3 Vancouverites were among those accepting the trophy for Best Visual Effects, all current or former VFX supervisors at Double Negative Limited, and that is right here in Olympic Village in Vancouver. With the war now more than a month old, many cities in eastern Ukraine are in ruins, while those seeking shelter in the western part of the country are subjected to more air attacks. Susan Ormiston is in Lviv, where people are hoping for the best at tomorrow's ceasefire talks, even as they prepare for the worst.
Sonia is 4. She left Lyova, her cat, at home in eastern Ukraine. He's protecting their apartment, her mom tells her. In reality, their home is mostly destroyed from a bombing. The family came to Lviv for safety, and Danilo is in no mood for compromises in any peace talks. I can't believe any territory will be given up, because Ukraine is all in one. You can't divide it. We should take back Crimea. I think that compromise is impossible. Ukraine and Russia are set to meet again Tuesday, but at the Lviv Refugee Center, peace seems out of reach, even while the president offered an opening.
Security guarantees and neutrality, non-nuclear status of our state, we're ready to go for it.
It would mean taking future membership in NATO off the table for now.
If you say neutrality or if you say no NATO today, that's the situation we have right now. But one way or another, we want to have very clear guarantees of our security.
But Andriy Shevchenko says Russia is still not serious about talks.
And unfortunately, I don't see much space for diplomacy yet.
And now reports unproven that earlier this month, billionaire Roman Abramovich may have suffered from poisoning at talks in Kiev. On the front lines, no sign yet of an approaching ceasefire. Mariupol is still being battered by long-range rockets. The mayor says thousands have died. Shelling has intensified in the suburbs around Kiev. But Irpin, west of the capital, has been liberated, says the mayor, blocking one Russian gateway to Kiev. Ukraine's foreign minister says he hopes the talks at least will improve access to humanitarian aid and at best address a ceasefire. But if Russia comes with ultimatums, nothing will come of them. Susan Ormston, CBC News, Lviv.
Canadians have so far donated more than $80 million to the International Red Cross to help. The organization is now considering setting up new field operations. But to the surprise of many, it's mulling opening up on the Russian side of the border. Marina von Stackelberg now with the concern and even the anger that's causing.
Members of Manitoba's Ukrainian community say they can't believe the Red Cross is considering setting up an office inside the country responsible for the war.
We were appalled, frankly. We recognize that the Red Cross is non-aligned, that it's an organization that works everywhere, wherever there is a need, but the need is in Ukraine.
The Red Cross agrees, but says a logistics base within Russia would be one way to get supplies to eastern Ukraine. The director of operations told CBC News they are exploring every option and says remaining impartial in the conflict is key to reaching more people.
We need to be perceived on the ground by the warring parties as neutral. We need to have a minimum consensus that we can operate across these front lines.
Ukraine's government has released a statement saying it strongly objects. It accuses the charity of siding with Moscow.
It's a very tricky matter.
This expert in supplying humanitarian aid applauds the Red Cross for trying to stay independent, but says the optics here aren't good.
Geez, isn't there enough to do in Ukraine and in neighboring countries to the west where there's literally, refugees in the millions needing some form of assistance?
He also warns of the possibility supplies meant for Ukraine could be stolen by the Russian military.
Given the recent history of what Russia is doing, I have no doubt that if they had a chance there, that they would exploit the situation.
Canadians have donated more than $82 million to the Red Cross. The charity says the majority of that money is being spent within Ukraine's borders. About a third of it is going to surrounding countries to help refugees. The Red Cross says it's still discussing whether to open the office and says so far not a single dollar has been spent in Russia. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Canada is taking another step toward replacing its aging fleet of CF-18 fighter jets tonight. Final negotiations are about to begin with the top bidder, Lockheed Martin, to purchase 88 new F-35 aircraft.
It has proven to be a mature, capable, and interoperable aircraft.
The federal government budgeting about $19 billion for the jets, making it the most significant investment in the Royal Canadian Air Force in more than 30 years. If the deal is finalized, the first planes could arrive in 2025. But if negotiations stall, the government still has the option to begin talks with Saab of Sweden. They're calling for an apology from the Pope. So what would it take and what would it mean? We tackle the questions surrounding the visit to Rome by Indigenous leaders next.
Some came to celebrate Hollywood, others to protest.
We'd like to make Hollywood more aware of how homophobic they are, and we'd like more movies portrayed with gays and lesbians in a positive light. All we've gotten are these negative movies which portray lesbians as women that hate men and want to murder men, and we're sick of it.
11 were arrested, and although they threatened to disrupt the awards, none got inside. For 3.5 hours, Hollywood celebrated itself, hosted this year again by Billy Crystal.
And I made believe I had a good time. Right. Not.
Many of the performers wore red ribbons. Actor Richard Gere explains.
This red ribbon is in sympathy of AIDS victims all over the world.
Did you think you could steal from me? From Maya Lansky, Charlie Luciano, and me?
This year, many predicted the big winner would be Warren Beatty's Bugsy, up for 10 awards, but it only won 2. The big awards all went to a film released early last year.
And the Oscar goes to The Silence of the Lambs.
Later. Now, please listen to me. We've only got 5.
No, I will listen now.
Silence of the Lambs also took Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. 5 awards in all. Wayne Williams, CBC News, Vancouver.
Wilderness has been called the geography of hope. But that cuts 2 ways here. Between the hopes of an industry that needs to reach deeper than ever before to survive, and of those who feel that society's only hope is to curb its need to bend nature to its will.
Before we go through all kinds of hoops and all kinds of consultants' reports and all kinds of other stuff, maybe society as a whole should sit down and say, this is one of the most amazing places on this planet. It's essentially untouched. We have now a chance to save it forever. Do we want to make that choice? Will we save it forever or will we not? Because when we lose Tatshenshini, when we lose one of these jewels in the crown of wilderness all over the planet, not only the province, that's it. No more choices. End of story. And the public has a right to help make that decision and not have things, well, maybe the engineering will take care of this and maybe there won't be any this, and with new technology that's untried, we hope we can do this. That's too big a gamble to take with a thing like Tatshenshini.
A decision about the fate of the Windy Craggy project isn't about to be made overnight, but there is an increasing urgency for Canadians to decide what value they place on wilderness. This area is so vast, so remote, so unspoiled that the choices become that much harder. It's possible that a mine could be built and operated safely, but there's also a chance that Canadians might decide that the best way to exploit this area is to leave it just the way it is. For the CBC.
Here are some of the stories we're following tonight on CBC Vancouver News. A man has been arrested in the mysterious killing of a Kitsilano Park caretaker almost 4 months ago. 51-year-old Brent Stephen White is charged with second-degree murder. Caretaker Justice Daniel was found dead inside his home and was well known in the community. The crime shocked everybody. A CBC News analysis has found that auto thieves are targeting older vehicles in BC more so than in any other part of the country. Police and ICBC are warning drivers to take precautions. In BC in 2020, Honda Civics were stolen the most, followed by F-350s, Dodge Rams, and F-150s. The majority of vehicles were made between 1997 and 2007. And the province is a step closer to bringing in a cooling off period for real estate transactions. It's meant to protect people buying homes by giving them time to back out of an agreement. They can also use the time to ensure financing and get a home inspection. But critics have said this will do little to help with housing affordability. Well, 7 years ago, Pope Francis apologized for the offenses committed by the Catholic Church in Bolivia, a country that has also struggled to make amends with Indigenous people. There might be lessons for this moment in Canada in what an apology can do and what it cannot. Adrian Arsenault takes a closer look.
Colonization, the sins against Indigenous people, didn't disappear in 2015 when Pope Francis arrived in Bolivia to express sorrow and regret. The apology was a huge moment, a heartfelt, long-fought-for moment.
Pido humildemente perdón, no solo por las ofensas de la propia Iglesia, sino por los crímenes contra los pueblos originarios durante la llamada conquista de América.
But still not universally accepted.
A simple apology is not the way to erase our entire historical past, all the oppression carried out for 500 plus years.
Jesus Oscar Humeres is Amarayan, among the 40% of people in Bolivia who are indigenous, and, he says, among a sizable group unmoved by the Pope's regret. See that graffiti? It's on a wall near where indigenous protesters were killed. It effectively bellows that the church is associated with violence and danger. Humeres, acutely aware of the trauma at home and in Canada. He says news of the rediscovery of those unmarked graves rocked Bolivia too, but expecting a trip to the Vatican and an apology to help ease the trauma, forget it.
If our brothers in Canada are going to visit him, I don't know exactly, but I just don't see. I just don't agree with it. It's like if someone killed your children, your ancestors, your fathers, your mothers. And I think in the name of dignity, you just shouldn't join those spaces.
His anger is palpable, and those in Canada pushing hard for a papal apology now know all about it and the risks of great expectations. So does the church.
They're going to walk into those meetings and they're going to have lots of things to say. And Pope Francis wants to hear it.
Canadian Michael Swan is with the Catholic Register, is in Rome now, and he says the Pope knows his role with the delegations is to listen.
It's one thing to know about the residential schools. It's another thing to sit with a survivor and hear their story, know what happened in their family, know what happened in their community from them. That's what he wants. He wants that direct experience of their suffering.
An apology won't likely come at these meetings, but the signs are this is a prelude to that happening in Canada perhaps this year. The Pope may also be sending a message to bishops in this country.
He needs them to hear that he understands the crisis the church is in Canada, and that he wants them to do better. He wants them to do more than raise $30 million and make the media shut up. We took away their language. What do we do now? We do whatever we can with them, for them, to restore that language.
The idea that an apology that comes with real work could make a difference also has precedence in Bolivia.
The apology helped heal historic wounds.
Carlos Cordero is a Bolivian political science professor, Catholic, and of mestizo heritage. He was there that day to witness the apology and says the presence of the Pope was a lift to dignity.
Above
all, the apology and the presence of the Pope encouraged the advancement of indigenous people and equal participation in all forms of governmental and social life.
He says to see Evo Morales, the first indigenous president of Bolivia, call the Pope "my papa" went a long way to soothing serious and enduring hurt. So too was the measure of the words.
En esta tierra.
Unlike a past apology by Pope John Paul II in 1992 in the Americas, which was seen as vague, Pope Francis's words were specific and forceful, and he was characteristically humble.
Digamos sí al encuentro entre pueblos y culturas, felices los que trabajan por la paz.
This too an important lesson for the Canadian context. The Catholic Church in Canada, eager, it seems, to find a way to not just apologize forcefully, but find a way to keep the faith connected with First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities.
And when you heal, you're free of all your heavy feelings.
Consider Mass in North Vancouver, BC, one that fully integrates the symbols and culture and language particular to the Squamish people of this community.
Easque quis way. And you'll become stronger in your hearts when you pray.
Deacon Rennie Nahani is an elder in the Squamish Nation. His sermon this Sunday about healing, about the church as a place where that can happen. To be Indigenous and Catholic, he says, is a struggle.
I belong to that church that did those things. But I can't leave it because the church I grew up in, I learned from my elders who also went to residential school. The trauma, it's still there. It's unresolved.
He will be at home when the delegations are in Rome, but he'll be watching carefully, knows what he needs to see and hear.
We need our culture, our language, our spirituality, which was taken away from us by the church. We want the church to return that to us.
There is hard emotional work ahead, and an apology may serve as a step, hardly a solution.
After repeated failures, the federal government is expected to outline how it will meet Canada's climate goals. But this year, the plan comes with some teeth. We'll explain next. At 6:41, a live look tonight at Tofino. Beautiful shot. The waves rolling in and out, and the surfers are doing their thing. Plenty of sunshine on the coast. There's more to come. Nick has your full forecast coming up.
I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On April 7th, join CBC Vancouver's Anita Bathe and a panel of entrepreneurs at a free online UBC Dialogues discussion about how to cultivate an entrepreneurial mindset and succeed in business. And get Metro Vancouver news that matters to you wherever you are with the free CBC News app. Download it today and stay connected to where you live.
The federal government is getting ready to lay out the country's most detailed plan yet for achieving its climate goals. Successive governments have repeatedly failed to hit their emissions targets over the years. As David Thurton reports, the difference this time is Ottawa will be required by law to meet them.
Canada is the worst performer in the G7 when it comes to meeting our emissions targets. That's according to Canada's Environment Commissioner. But that should not be a reason for despair. Climate groups say it should be a motivation to get back on track, especially this week.
Canada has never reached any of its own climate targets. This plan is an opportunity to correct that.
As early as tomorrow, the government will table a detailed plan mandated under the new Net Zero Emission Accountability Act. Previous plans were short on specifics. This one, it's hoped, will show how much our climate commitments will cost, how progress will be measured, deadlines, and which minister is responsible. But Conservatives are concerned the new plan will hurt the economy.
We need this government to show that there's going to be balance in whatever is put forward. We've got really tough issues with inflation, gas prices, other things. The last thing we need is for the net zero plan to result in a job zero plan.
The plan must target the sector in Canada with the highest emissions footprint, the NDP says.
We need that emissions cap. We need to say to the world we're serious about dealing with emissions.
The government is promising a cap, but not this week. It says it's still consulting with industry. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
The push away from fossil fuels is getting a big boost in an unlikely place. Oil-rich Texas is seeing a boom in renewable energy. Kyle Bax looks at the shift that's underway and the lessons learned after a winter storm caused massive outages across the state last year.
In a state known for its oil industry, there's a different source of energy that's kicked into high gear. Towering wind farms and solar fields stretching as far as the eye can see are popping up throughout Texas, now a hotbed for renewables. And the growth didn't slow down. Even after last year's failure of the electric grid plunged much of the state into days of darkness and sparked a backlash against clean power.
There was some negative press right out of the gate.
Leeward Renewable Energy is one of several Canadian-owned companies producing wind and solar power in Texas. Those in the industry say lessons have been learned.
That system wasn't as resilient as it needed to be, whether it was renewables, whether it was gas, or whether it was the fuel suppliers. So I think it was a call to action.
More transmission lines are needed to move power around the state and increase connections to neighboring states to allow Texas to import electricity when needed.
Yes, there were a good number of wind turbines that went offline, but the primary issues were with the thermal generating plants.
In the last 15 years, wind energy has jumped from less than 3% of the state's electricity production to 26% today, surpassing both coal and nuclear. But as renewables ramp up, reliability concerns linger, even after a new rule now requires all power plants to protect against extreme weather. Still, more and more renewable energy developments are underway.
And when you look at the economics today, whether you're an investor or a utility, it is the lowest cost option.
And renewables could grow even more if President Joe Biden's Build Back Better plan and its clean energy funding are approved.
Government incentives definitely help to increase development, but these different types of generation can stand on their own.
Texas is already the top wind producer in the country. Now it's on pace to be #1 in solar within a few years. Kyle Bax, CBC News, near Sweetwater, Texas. Let's check in again with meteorologist Nick Czernkovich. Nick,
We're almost hitting April, and I feel like the way the weather has been going this year, we're going to end up like that one year we saw snow in April in BC.
Don't say it. Don't say it, because then you're going to jinx it. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, Anita, I've been looking even into the long-range forecast, and we're pretty much holding steady here around 11, 12 degrees, and the overnight lows as well above zero. So good thing there. I can't do anything about the rain, though. We're going to see a little bit in the way of rain showers coming up over the next couple of days. However, it should stay as rain, at least certainly in the lower elevations. Still sitting in the double digits right now. There's a look at current temperatures across the lower mainland, and really coming under some very nice clear skies. This all cleared out. We had some earlier morning showers. Those have cleared out. We've got lots in the way of sunshine. This under the influence of high pressure that I talked about earlier on. Now, you look at the forecast map here, any cloud cover that's lingering, we're just seeing that a little bit more inland. That's going to clear out, but under clear skies tonight, and you might not feel it because the temperatures are still, you know, just barely double digits, but under relatively sort of higher humidity, we're going to see the temperatures come down and likely developing fog through some of the areas, especially through some of the low-lying areas. That includes areas right up through the Fraser and across the lower mainland. We're expecting to see some fog developing through tonight, and then into tomorrow morning it should dissipate, but then cloud cover starts to roll in. So I think we're going to see some sunshine in the middle of those two, but certainly some morning sort of low cloud cover or fog, then a little bit of sunshine, then we're back into the cloud cover again as another system approaches Tuesday night into Wednesday. Wednesday, expect to see showers basically right across the board. That lasts through the better part of Wednesday. Now, we're not talking about a lot of rain, but it's going to be some gray weather and certainly showers at the very least. Thursday, we start to get the sunny breaks back once again. It begins to clear out as high pressure rolls in once more. Now, in terms of the rainfall, we're not looking at a lot, about 5 to 10 millimeters with this system for Wednesday, but enough to wet the roads really, and that's just about it. Winds, not much of a factor here, except along the Strait of Georgia, where we could see winds up to about 20, maybe 30 kilometers per hour. For the most part, they remain calm. And what we're starting to see as we transition from these winter systems to the more sort of, I don't want to say summer, but spring-summer season, we tend to get slightly weaker winds, and we're seeing that in the forecast. Despite the rain that's moving through, the winds aren't too bad. Here's a look at the broad range forecast, certainly through the BC interior. Lots in the way of sunshine there. A little bit of fog, though, as we move down through the lower mainland. That actually stretches right up toward Vancouver Island as well. There's a look at the next 24, up to 12 degrees as we move through tomorrow. Actually, that should be out to 13, rather. And then some morning fog. Pretty steady in terms of our temperatures. So if you hide the Wednesday and the Friday, it's not a bad-looking forecast.
No, at least there's a bunch of sun in there. That sounds good. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
It's been a long time, but Canada is headed back to the World Cup. We catch up with a father and son who traveled all the way from Newfoundland to see the big win in Toronto next.
It was a very busy time 100 years ago. There was a lot more industry in this area, a lot different kind of industry. And to make it a solid place to move forward, they incorporated as a village. It's changed since I've been here for 50 years. It's changed different than the first 50 years. We have lost some businesses in the village. Some of our younger people have moved away once they went to university. Our school, we lost one school, and our other school has gained in its popularity and become larger. Even though we've lost some businesses that were here a long time ago, we have gained great things with the people that are here. So we spent 1 year getting ready for this 100th year, and at the same time, we're looking forward to the local governance reform, where we'll start a different 100 years. And it's interesting to note that the people on the Centennial Committee that the village has are from all around the area. They're not just from the village of Port Elgin. So we've always worked together. We're going to move into the next 100 years together. So it's kind of like goodbye this 100 and hello the next 100.
Joe's ready to weld. She's going to go eyes or welding, and that's your signal to put your helmet down. Okay, eyes. So what sparked the idea for the Red Bench was actually a women's welding session that I was running at the University of Alberta. I got a bunch of ladies together who were interested in learning how to weld, and from there we said we need to take this out of the university, we need to put it into the community because there's more than just university students that need something like this.
When I first started to weld, I realized how powerful it was as a tool to create and build things. I love working with my hands. I'm very creative, I'm a very artistic person, and welding opens so many doors. I have experience in the trades and in male-dominated spaces, and I know what it's like to be there and how isolating and alone you can feel.
It's so important to us to provide a safe space for women and individuals in the LGBTQIA+ community is that these spaces don't exist anywhere.
It can open up possibilities for you in your career and education, or even just in your hobbies and your free time, something that you enjoy doing and can grow from and learn from.
They're the most studied and famous whale family in the world. What's pushing J-Pod to the brink? I'm Gloria Makarenko, host of the new CBC British Columbia original podcast, Killers. Is it too late to save them?
Not sure about you, but I am pretty excited about Canada's big win last night. Yep, our men's soccer team winning their match against Jamaica 4-0, and now they're headed to the World Cup for the first time since 1986. The energy, the excitement being felt across the country, and we caught up with a soccer-loving father and son who traveled to Toronto from Newfoundland to watch it all happen live.
In your wildest dreams!
Pretty bonkers, huh?
Yeah, really loud.
There was a crowd of 29,100 people. 152, my apologies. And it was very loud. There was drums. Everybody was jumping up and down in the stands. They were cheering ole ole.
Yeah.
Go Canada go. There was fireworks.
Yes.
Yeah, fireworks every time they scored a goal.
They scared me.
They scared you right off the bat. The place was electric. It was amazing. It was a great atmosphere to be in. We're actually here with a group of parents from St. Philip's, whose boys play both in our club as well as Fieldians in Mount Pearl. And we're all here, and we were all within spitting distance of each other in the stands, cheering on the team. This was kind of a group decision that we'd say, you know, if Canada had a chance to clinch it or even play a game on a qualifying game here in Canada, that we'd go. And so here we are. When that first goal went in, you kind of knew Canada was there to dominate. They controlled the game right from kickoff. It was pretty awesome to see. It's pretty important. It's something that Max and I both share a love for, and that we enjoy, you know, the car rides to and from practices and games, and all of his friends are kind of all of my friends, and they're all great teammates, and they're all a good group of boys and girls.
Back across, Buchanan!
I think it's extremely important that young players recognize that Canada can have great teams, not just in hockey, you know, not just in curling. You know, we've got a great athletic base of young athletes in Newfoundland and Labrador. As a matter of fact, one young player from Fieldians was invited to train with the Canadian under-21 team. It's exciting, and it's exciting for the young players coming through to see that Canada can take a international role in the sport.
Yeah, it really does inspire a big group of young athletes. And you know, our women's team has been doing that for a number of years, so it's exciting to see the men finally catching up. All right, let's go Canada. Lots of time to perfect our soccer cheer. The World Cup isn't happening until November. That's it for CBC Vancouver News tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow.